Scene script. Who do you think was the best president in the history of the United States? Before we get there, let's start with the ones who didn't fare so well. Welcome to our historical journey through the halls of American presidency. As we traverse this timeline, we'll begin our countdown at the bottom, shedding light on the 5 presidents who, unfortunately, didn't quite make the mark. First, let's talk about James Buchanan, our 15th president. Buchanan's time in office was marred by a failure to address the escalating tension between the North and South. His indecisiveness and lack of leadership are often blamed for the onset of the Civil War. Next up is Andrew Johnson. Despite succeeding the legendary Abraham Lincoln, Johnson struggled to fill his predecessor's shoes. His lenient policies towards the South during Reconstruction and his disregard for civil rights led to his impeachment. Our third contender is Warren G. Harding. Harding's presidency was steeped in scandal, most notably the infamous Teapot Dome scandal, which involved the illegal leasing of naval oil reserves. His administration was riddled with corruption, leading to a tarnished legacy. Then we have Franklin Pierce, another president who struggled with the issue of slavery. Pierce's support for the Kansas-Nebraska Act, which allowed territories to decide whether they would allow slavery, led to violent conflicts and further divided the nation. Lastly, we have Richard Nixon, the only president to resign from office. Nixon's presidency will forever be overshadowed by the Watergate scandal, a political controversy that led to a crisis of confidence in the American government. Each of these presidents faced significant challenges during their terms, and their failures and controversies have shaped their rankings in history. Their stories serve as a reminder of the immense responsibility and scrutiny that come with the title of President of the United States. Now that we've seen the worst, let's move up the list. Moving on from the worst, we enter the realm of mediocrity. In the grand tapestry of American history, not all leaders can be woven with threads of gold. Some, unfortunately, blend into the background, their presidencies marked by a lack of standout achievements or glaring failures. They are the middle-of-the-road presidents, the ones who managed to keep the ship of state steady but didn't necessarily chart a new course. Consider Chester A. Arthur, the 21st president, who stepped into the office after the assassination of James A. Garfield. Arthur, a former customs collector, was expected to be a puppet for the spoils system. Yet, he surprised everyone by championing civil service reform, signing the Pendleton Act into law. However, his administration didn't produce any other significant achievements, placing him firmly in the middle. Then there's Grover Cleveland, the only president to serve non-consecutive terms. His dedication to classical liberalism and fiscal conservatism was laudable. Still, his inability to address the economic downturn during his second term and his hands-off approach to governance place him in the mediocre category. And who can forget William Howard Taft? Often remembered more for his post-presidential career as Chief Justice than his presidency, Taft's tenure was marked by moderate policies and a focus on judiciary reform. His inability to satisfy the progressives or the conservatives of his time, however, leads him to the middle of our list. These presidents, and others like them, were not necessarily bad at their jobs. They had their moments of success, the periods of stability, their instances of well-intentioned policies. But they also had their failures, their missed opportunities, their moments of indecision. They were, in short, presidents who did an adequate job, but never quite managed to leave an indelible mark on the nation's history. As we climb the list, we start to see more successes than failures. Now we're getting to the presidents who were close to greatness but just missed the mark. Some of our leaders were truly on the cusp of achieving greatness, but a few crucial missteps kept them from reaching the top tier. Let's take a look at these almost greats. First, we have Lyndon B. Johnson, the 36th president, who served from 1963 to 69. Johnson's ambitious Great Society domestic agenda brought about significant reforms in healthcare, education, and civil rights. However, his escalation of the Vietnam War overshadowed his domestic successes, resulting in a legacy tarnished by a deeply unpopular and costly conflict. Next, we visit the presidency of Woodrow Wilson, our 28th president, serving from 1913 to 21. Wilson's progressive policies at home and his efforts to establish the League of Nations post-World War I were commendable. Yet, his inability to convince the US Congress to join the League and his racially discriminatory policies kept him from the top tier. Then there's James K. Polk, the 11th president, from 1845 to 49. Polk achieved a lot during his single term, including the acquisition of Oregon and much of the Southwest, which significantly expanded the US territory. However, his aggressive expansionism led to the Mexican-American War, a conflict that remains controversial to this day. Lastly, we have John Adams, the second president who served from 1797 to 1801. Adams was instrumental in navigating the nation through the early challenges of independence. However, his Alien and Sedition Acts, which limited free speech and the rights of immigrants, have been a blot on his presidential record. These presidents, each in their own way, achieved much during their tenures, yet their significant missteps, controversial decisions, and in some cases, failure to fully realize their visions kept them from reaching the pinnacle of presidential greatness. Now let's turn our attention to the best of the best. Finally, we've arrived at the top tier, the presidents who left an indelible mark on the history of the United States. Let's start with number 5, Dwight D. Eisenhower. As a World War II hero, he was a shoo-in for president. But his presidency wasn't just about his military prowess. Eisenhower's leadership during the Cold War was instrumental in maintaining global peace. Plus, his interstate highway system revolutionized travel and commerce in the States. Number 4, Thomas Jefferson. A founding father and author of the Declaration of Independence, Jefferson was a champion of democracy and individual rights. His Louisiana Purchase doubled the size of the nation, and his efforts to maintain American neutrality during the Napoleonic Wars kept the young nation out of international conflict. In the third spot, we have Franklin D. Roosevelt. Serving an unprecedented 4 terms, FDR led America through the Great Depression and World War II. His New Deal policies fundamentally changed the role of government in American life, and his leadership during the war solidified the United States as a global superpower. At number 2, we find George Washington. As the first president, his leadership set a precedent for all who followed. He navigated the tricky waters of establishing a new nation, and his decision to step down after 2 terms set a vital precedent for presidential term limits. These 4 presidents are the cream of the crop, the men whose leadership and vision shaped the United States and the world at large. Their legacies continue to resonate, their decisions still impacting our lives today. These are the presidents who truly made a difference, but who was the best of the best? And now, the moment you've all been waiting for, the best president in the history of the United States. Drum roll, please. The crown goes to none other than Abraham Lincoln. Serving as the 16th president, his tenure was from March 1861 until his tragic assassination in April 1865. But don't let his short term fool you. Lincoln's impact on the nation was nothing short of monumental. Abraham Lincoln is best known for his Emancipation Proclamation, a bold move that forever changed the course of American history. With a stroke of his pen, he declared that all enslaved people in Confederate-held territory were free. This was a significant step towards the abolition of slavery, a dark chapter in the country's past. But Lincoln's achievements didn't stop there. He also navigated the country through the bloody waters of the Civil War, one of the most tumultuous periods in American history. He faced the challenge with unyielding resolve and a deep commitment to preserving the Union. His Gettysburg Address, a mere 272 words, is etched into the annals of history as one of the most influential speeches ever made. Lincoln eloquently expressed the democratic ideals of the nation, inspiring millions then and now. The impact of Lincoln's leadership was profound. He redefined the presidency and left a lasting legacy that continues to shape the United States. His unwavering commitment to unity, freedom, and equality has made him a beacon of leadership and humanity. The measure of a president's greatness often lies in their ability to lead in times of crisis. For Lincoln, that crisis was the Civil War. His leadership during this time, his commitment to emancipation, and his ability to inspire a nation make him, in our books, the best president in the history of the United States. So there you have it, the best and worst presidents in US history. Do you agree with our list? Let us know in the comments below.